listening to the PR Wind Down podcast, the show for public relations professionals who are ready to see real change in the PR industry. We are your hosts, April White and Laura Schooler. Let's get ready to wind down. So we have a very exciting guest with us today, and we're going to kick things off with the interview for a change.
Did you get this interview, April?
Actually, no, Veronica, our producer, did.
It better be good. I'm just kidding. I know what it is. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome.
All right. Hey.
Hey, Gem, how are you?
Hi, ladies. Good, thank you. How are you?
Good. So nice to meet you. Our guest this week is Gem Pinkney. She's a publicity manager with UKTV, and she's here today to discuss the network's hit TV show, Flack. The series is a binge-worthy drama about an American PR pro named Robin, who works for a London-based firm with a roster of over-the-top celebrity clients. Season 1 is streaming now on Amazon Prime, and the eagerly awaited Season 2 is set to drop in the US later this year, and Season 3 is already in the works. Gem also works with UK channels, including the Dave Channel, Alibi Channel, Gold, and W. So welcome. We are so excited to have you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. Nice to meet you.
I am such a huge fan of Flack. Very excited
about it. It is
amazing.
I haven't met a PR who doesn't love it, which is quite cool, I think.
It reminds me, I was obsessed with Mad Men. So it's like,
yes,
it's like that. It's the PR British version of Mad Men for me. And I loved it too. I binge watched like the whole thing in 2 days.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a binge worthy series.
Yeah. It really is. So the thing that I think it's funny that we have you on, because it's like the PR person who does PR for the show about PR with people who do PR.
So meta.
You know, this black hole of like, it goes on and on. It's like the mirror in front of the mirror in front of the mirror.
Yeah, it is. I remember being sat in the first meeting that we had about the show. So we have these like pre-production meetings where we meet the team, and Ollie was describing the show. And he was like, so it's about this girl, she's in London, she's a PR, and like, she's really good at her job, but she's just terrible in her personal life. And I'm sat there thinking, am I being punked? Like, have they written a show about me? And it was so weird, like that all the comings together of it. And it was just like, I can work on this show. I know this show, like, this is the life that we all live. It's fine. Right.
So how do you approach doing PR for a show about PR?
With much difficulty.
Yeah. I mean, do you go to like PR, like trades and associations, or people who write about?
Yeah, so that's where I started with it, really, because what the thing we found the most difficult about promoting the show in general across all our departments, so marketing, social, is that Flack is not a term that is well known as a PR, and PR in general is not really something that people understand. We're like a behind the scenes type role, and all of the things that are in the media, the spinny things and the things that people don't quite expect, we've orchestrated, but no one, like the public, don't know that happens, and they don't. So we had quite a job to do in making sure people understood what it was. So we started with like the PR industry, so the PR Weekly, and there was one article that basically, this whole article about how we were demonizing the PR industry, and it was completely salacious. And when I was like, this is mad. So we just had to treat it like you treat any other drama. So it's a good drama. It's a really brilliant story. You can get drawn in whether you know what PR is or not. It's about the characters. It's not specifically, you don't have to understand the industry to know that it's a good show. So it then became, also because we had Anna as the lead, and she was an Academy Award winner, it was our first UKTV original drama, we could make it feel a bit filmic, and so launch it in a way that you would launch a film, and do a red carpet event. And it was difficult to pitch it at the beginning, but once people saw it and that it was just a really good drama, then
and
it became much easier.
Actually, I feel like the story about it being like salacious would draw viewers in, though. I know that's like negative, but it's negative in tone, but maybe not negative in results.
That is very true. And I am always of the opinion that it's better to be written about. Like that you will always get some kind of reaction, and it will kind of drum up interest.
I mean, some of the stories with like the celebrities, again, I was like, all right, you know, this is big drama. This doesn't really happen. And then I was like, wait a second. Most of the PR I've done in my life is business to business, you know, big corporate types of PR, but I have worked with some celebrities, and some of it is bonkers cuckoo. And I've gotten like personally wrapped into things where I'm like, oh my God. So I was like, this actually happened.
The interesting thing is Ollie's writing is incredible. Oliver Lansley, who wrote it, and he spoke to many, many celebrity PRs in his research. He had a writer's room of acting talent before. So it was 6 years in the making this show, but the writer's room at the beginning, and he like farmed them of stories, and all of the stories within the show are based on
like kind of happened. Yeah.
Okay, so let's ask it plainly. So basically what you're saying is everything in the show is completely realistic and has happened. It's a drama, right? So
it's still a drama, it's fictional, but it is based on real rumors and stories.
Right. So probably you wouldn't have that many things every single day, maybe 3 times in your career, but you're putting together everyone's careers into one character. So it's not that it doesn't happen. It's just, it does happen, but it doesn't happen with that frequency. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
Right. I mean, the background of their personal lives is crazy too. And then I was like, oh God, like that's so crazy. And then I was like, oh my God, like my life has kind of been insane too. Not when I was as young as they are, but like as, you know, you get older and you have more life experience. So it's pretty insane and like not believable, but then it actually did happen. And you're even telling us it did happen. And I'm telling you it does happen. So if the writer needs any new stories,
I will send him your way.
Send them my way. I've got
it. Would be funny actually, because we would, after like our launch event, we'd basically took over the whole of London Waterloo Station with our marketing. And so we took Ollie down there to see it and for drinks. And it would become like this interview where he was like asking me for stories. So I was like, Ollie, I won't have a job if you continue to ask me stories and they end up in a...
Well, and that goes back to the thing. You're doing PR for the show. You can't end up as part of the story.
No, right. Absolutely not.
Right. Is most of what you do in your career been like B2C, like to consumer, or have you been more on the corporate side as well?
No, so I've always been consumer coverage.
Okay.
Yeah, so I started in soaps, which is a good kind of baptism of fire, I guess, because it's relentless. There's weekly stories and you never have any time to think about anything. And our soap stars here are young and they lack a party. So there was a lot of kind of firefighting early on, which was a good base like learning for my career. And then I've been at UKTV for like 9 years, so I've always been doing program publicity. So I by no means am a celebrity or personal PR. They have far more to deal with than I do.
Right. So that leads me to my next question. Did you watch the Harry and Meghan interview last night?
So I've watched all of the Meghan bit. Harry's
okay. I see. I missed that last night. I caught it in the middle. Did you watch any of it?
No, but can we put it together since you've seen the first half and Laura's seen the last?
I don't want to give her the
April.
Yeah, I've been reading about it today. You've probably been avoiding reading about it, so
I have. Yeah.
I don't want to say anything other than the PR machine behind the royals and now behind the two of them. This will be very interesting to see how it all plays out.
It's fascinating. It's also like, I mean, our media are obsessed. They are obsessed with it. I worked with Meghan for quite a long time on Suits, and it is weird. I spent 5 years of my life trying to get press to write about her, and now they won't stop writing about her. So it's quite weird to like watch it all play out, because
like now you can't stop for them from writing about her. Wow.
But yeah, I've managed to avoid it all day so I can watch it objectively.
Okay. All right, so I won't get into it, but it's just funny how people are like, well, who cares? Who cares about them? And I'm like, that's not really what's important. What's important is how's it going to play out from a PR point of view? If you're a PR person, it's very relevant too.
Yeah, it's fascinating, I think.
Yeah. who can be like a better, strategist, right?
I want to see the PR, the deck that they put together to strategize.
Well, right. And then, of course, once you do a strategy, it's like, out the window when the rubber hits the road half the time, right?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like in the TV show, the way they come up with these like ideas, and then so many times they take a crazy left turn, and then you're left like, flying by the seat of your pants. So did you go to school for PR?
I didn't, no. I went to uni and studied journalism and drama. So yeah, they don't really have school for PR here.
No, they didn't when I went to college, or they do more now. But I find what you just said, journalism and drama, isn't that PR?
That is very true. Basically, journalism taught me that I don't want to work in journalism.
Right.
And then drama, I guess, taught me to be a drama queen.
Or that you wanted to be
or
work
manage
for
them.
TV. Right.
Or manage them, yeah. I think I discovered it. I did work experience when I was at university on a women's weekly magazine here, and we were on a shoot, and there was a young reality star, and no one was like looking after her, and I said to the photographer, I was like, oh, is her agent coming? And they said, no, her PR's on her way. And I was like, what's a PR? What does she do? And her PR never turned up, and it was really apparent that she needed someone to look after her throughout the day and like make sure she wasn't posing in the wrong way and didn't say something that she didn't need to say on interview. And so that's when I kind of discovered what PR was. And I was writing for the student newspaper at the time, and the student newspaper got invited to like loads of film premieres and review screenings. So I went along to a couple of them, and I was like, is this what PR is? Like standing on this red carpet and getting to go in there with all the famous people. I was like, okay, I'll do that. And I mean, there are some very glamorous parts to our job, but it is it's a lot more than that.
Yeah. I did PR for the Oscars for many years.
Oh, wow.
But not on the Oscars side, on the PricewaterhouseCoopers We Count the Ballot side. So it was much less glamorous, but I did go to the Oscars a few times.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's the dream.
Right. But they were like, don't look at anybody, don't move, don't get up, don't, so it actually didn't, you couldn't like hang out. What I got to do at the show was be a seat filler. Did I ever tell you this, April?
No.
So yeah, I got to be a seat filler, and there's this huge program. So a lot of celebrities get up and leave and go like eat or drink or whatever they're gonna do. And so when the camera comes back from commercial, they don't want half the room to be empty. So they have people like me as seat fillers. So one year I sat like pretty close front of the stage right near Harvey Weinstein for like an hour and a half. And they gave an award, Jeremy Irons gave an award out from the middle, the center row. And so the camera was right on him, and I was sitting right in front of him. So I was like on like the Oscars sitting next to him for like 5 minutes. And then another year I sat in like the third row right behind Oprah and Adam Sandler, I swear to God, and next to Ethan Hawke's friend, and maybe he was a celebrity, I don't even know who he was. Like he talked to me. So if they talk to you, you could talk back, but they don't want you to be like, oh my God, give me a signature, Yeah.
So wait, how did you feel in that context?
You're very aware of like where you're sitting, and yeah, it's crazy.
Wait,
I have those moments.
So I have a question for both of you, since you've both been around a lot of celebrities. Do you still get starstruck?
I kind of do, depending on who it is.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Not in a way where I don't know how to react around them.
So you can keep your cool and look like you're not responding, but inside you're like,
yeah, which I think is a bit psychopath, isn't it?
no, it's cute.
Yeah, no, some people really don't care, but this was not supposed to be a podcast about my celebrity sightings.
I love it. I would always be scared that they're not going to be what you expect them to be.
Yeah.
Wait, is that, Gem, you say that based on personal experience of like, they look so nice, and then you meet them and you're like, oh my God.
I've actually been quite lucky, I think. Most of the time it's just a bad day. You know what? We all have bad days, and I think people should forgive people for that sometimes. But
absolutely.
I've dealt with like normal people who are inherently
I wear quite a lot of bright clothes. I think you can't be mad at someone who's in a pink dress.
Love that. That's like a good quote.
So Gem, back to Flack. Do you know how the concept of the story and the TV series came about? Was it sort of a desire to let people know about the behind the scenes craziness of PR? Was it wanting to bring PR to the masses because it is a fascinating industry? Do you have any idea of what sparked the impetus for it?
So the writer Ollie is also an actor. He plays American Mike in series 2. And he was on a promotional tour of a show that he was in, and he became a bit in awe with the machine that he was being placed on sofas and told, say that, do this, do that, don't say that, come off the sofa, go to that radio show, do that, do this, don't. And it was like he just never experienced it before. And I think the PR that was looking after him at the time was also a personal PR, celebrity PR. And so she had a lot of stories as well. So he kind of came up with it from that. He wanted to delve into that world. He couldn't believe that what you see on a sofa it's not usually that person. There's a lot of spin, there's a lot of media training, there's a lot of kind of construct of a strategy that goes along with it. And so that's where he got that idea from.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. He's very clever. He's very, very clever.
Yeah, I see that. That is super cool. And has it been popular mostly among publicists who are laughing at themselves, or is it something that you feel like is catching on among a broader public?
So it's on W here in the UK, which is a digital network. So it's like pay TV. So it hasn't, I think if it was on a terrestrial channel here, it would have set the world alight and we'd be getting awards left, right and centre, because I don't think you can deny that it's great writing, it's a great story, the characters are amazing, the actors are phenomenal. Like, it's very rare you see such a strong ensemble cast. The PRs that I speak to and in the community, like on social, everyone was raving about it and kind of all comparing each other to who would be who. And I know Ollie spoke to quite a few PRs across the industry, and Lydia, who plays Eve, spent a lot of time with a few different PRs in preparation for the role. And so there's a few scenes where you look at her and you go, oh, she's based it on you, like that's you. And my friend was like, yeah, no, don't worry, we all ruined him in the office for that. And there was other points where we would be on set. I spent quite a lot of time on set. It makes it a lot easier for my job if you build relationships with the talent and kind of you get that trust, so that when you come to promote it, you can ask for
smart
interviews and stuff.
Yeah, there'd be times where I'd turn around and I'd be like, Lydia, what are you looking at? And she's like, oh, nothing. And then the next scene she'd be like, so just do this and do that. I was like, I don't do that, like, stop staring at me. She's like, I was just getting tips.
She was trying to see what you did to be able to
I did.
Right, emulate.
Yeah, she was amazing. She was the most incredible person to work with, and she really cared about her character. And it's so weird how different Lydia is to Eve in real life. She's so like, timid and softly spoken and wouldn't hurt a fly. And then you have Eve, and her lines are killer, and she could just take anyone down.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is fascinating. So do you have any feedback from the PRs? I love that you say PRs. We don't say that in the US.
Yeah.
Publicists or PR people. We never say PRs like it's a noun.
Right.
But anyway, I'm going to start using it because I think it's cool. So, so I'm curious, who do most of the PRs most identify with from the show? Have they told you? Does everybody think they're Melody, or does everybody think they're
I think
everybody
wanted to be Eve.
Okay, that's funny.
They're probably Melody.
We're all probably Melody at heart.
Oh my God.
That's super cute. That's super cute. What else can you tell us about the promotion of the show? Is there anything else that you can tell us about the process of it? Did you feel like it was easier or harder to promote a show about PR, being a PR practitioner, or PR yourself, I should say?
I naively thought that it would be a lot easier to promote it because the actors were playing PRs. So I thought that they would have a broader understanding about what PR was for the show. Not that I didn't have a bad experience on it at all. They were all amazing. And it was a real collaboration of like making sure we got what we needed for the show versus what they all also wanted to do, which was great. I think there was quite the balance in, because W is a digital network and Anna is a Oscar-winning actor who has been in incredible shows and has a real profile. There was a disconnect in what the press here would write about in terms of the channel versus I genuinely thought it'd be really, really easy to place Anna wherever I wanted to place her. But the barrier was the channel that we were on, which was really annoying.
That is annoying.
It's irrelevant. It is irrelevant and content is everywhere, and it was quite frustrating.
Yeah. So that was your biggest challenge.
That's really interesting.
Like.
Yeah, that was the biggest challenge. And but the good thing about it is this show filmed for, I think, 60 days total was series 1, and it was in the edit for quite a long time. And then we TX'd it, I think it was February 2019 was the first series. And because of that, and I hadn't worked on a scripted drama for UKTV before, but because of that time, it meant that I had loads of time. I was pitching one piece in Evening Standard magazine, which is quite a glossy weekly magazine here, for about 6 months. And I was like, no, I know that they need this show. I know that they're going to write about it. I know Anna is perfect for them. But because I had that 6 months, I got to that point where they said yes. But it was questions like, but will it be available on Netflix? It's just there. Most people have got paid TV here. Just because it's on W doesn't mean it's any less of a good show.
Viewable,
so,
right, or good, yeah. Right. So do you do PR for it when it comes to the US, in the US?
No, so I did all the unit publicity on behalf of Pop. So they employed an agency to kind of help out. So we kind of did all the unit publicity, which is like things like the electronic press kit, so the interviews on set, all of the stills that you see. And so when it went out on Pop, their internal team handled the PR. And I know obviously Anna was based in LA, so it was a lot easier for them to keep putting her on shows, and they had a bit of a longer promotional time than I got. I think I had Anna here for a week over TX. Yeah, it was quite fast paced. It was very new for me because I'm used to working with UK based talent. So it was an experience. I had been at UKTV a really long time by that point, and I didn't know if I could learn much more there. And then this show came along and I felt like I didn't know anything.
Right. You got a master's degree or whatever.
Yeah. And it was quite good because I had the show to like teach me how to be a PR.
It's just interesting to me because I used to go to London a lot, and the first time was not until like 99 or 2000. And I was like, whatever, it'll be similar. And London is so different from New York and so different from the United States that I feel like people here watching that show might not get a lot of it. I ended up spending a pretty good amount of time not as a tourist and not as a worker in London. So I sort of know like some of the nuances and some of the Cockney stuff, whatever, that like most Americans don't know about. So I could see it might be a little bit difficult to get that part of it here in the US, even if you've got Anna Paquin as, like the lead. It's just, people are like, they just don't get a lot of the lifestyle or the words or the discussion, but maybe because there's like the American characters in it, that helps.
Yeah, I wonder if it will be easier for series 2, because I know that series 2 is much more of a collaboration between Pop and W and Ollie's writing in making sure that there was that balance there. And if there was a joke that Pop didn't feel like US audiences would understand, they would shoot a different joke. So there's different versions for each audience.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, because it's like, even like the fact that Melody is from Scotland, and she comes down. It's just kind of funny because, of course, the United States is just one giant country. So if it was here, it would be like, the girl gets off the bus from, I don't know, Iowa, right, April? And like to start her big job at the big agency.
Yeah.
April's from Iowa. But like the fact that in the UK, there's like other countries that come, it just doesn't happen that way in the US. So it's like just a whole different experience,
Yeah, it's like a fish out of water for both, for Robin, who is from New York and comes to London, and then obviously Melody. But I think all of them feel a bit fish out of water, and that's the quite nice thing, that it can be a universal story. You can relate to those characters, I think, even if you don't understand some of what they're saying all the time.
Yeah.
I think so. So are there things from working on the show or watching it that you actually learned about PR?
Oh gosh, from working on it, it sounds really silly, but I think as PRs, there are some PRs that are really terrible at communication. And
Oh, please.
like as communication specialists, it surprises me all the time. And I was guilty of it a little bit in this series, in that I found I had to navigate all the different stakeholders quite quickly, and how to kind of balance everyone's expectations. Like, we had 2 broadcasters, we had 2 production teams, because you had Hattrick and you had Anna's production team, Chasm. I had Anna's American PR team, which was unusual for me in that I deal with largely UK talent who don't actually, many of them don't even have PR teams here. And then, so there was lots of stakeholders to balance. And so I learned really quickly that communication was key, and making sure that everyone knew everything, and kind of, which is also why I spent so much time on set, just to kind of build that trust, especially with Anna, who I knew was going to go back to LA, but I would need her to come back to the UK. And if she didn't trust me, and if she didn't think that I knew what I was doing and I could do a good job, it wouldn't be beneficial for her to come back to the UK to promote the show. So that was a massive learning curve for me.
Wow.
That's really interesting.
That's huge, actually.
That
I
is
think.
huge.
I don't think most people would have had that light bulb. I don't know if I would have.
Yeah,
You know?
it was one of the best, most rewarding jobs I've ever had, like shows I've ever worked on. But I put a lot of my life into it to get to that point. The reward was the coverage at the end. Like, it was everywhere here, and I was pretty proud of that. So that was good.
Absolutely.
Although going back to what you said earlier about starstruck, I was a huge True Blood fan. And so I was quite excited about working on the show. I was quite excited to have Anna as the lead. And I think it was day 12 or 13, I got a call to go to set and say hello to Anna and meet her properly in her trailer. And I didn't think I got starstruck. I didn't think I was nervous until I opened the trailer door onto my leg, and I walked into the trailer and my leg was just bleeding, like blood dripping down. I was like, I'm really hi. I'm the girl that's going to PR your show that you've been working on for a really long time. But will you just mind if I just go to the medical office and just get a plaster? So I definitely made an impression. I don't know if it was the right one in the beginning, but
that sounds like something that would have happened on the show. Like,
yeah. And also, now I think about it, I don't know why I was shocked that I'm Melody either.
Right, that's totally Melody would have done. Oh my God, that's so great.
It's so funny. No, I have no illusions. I am definitely Melody.
Yes, April. I think the best ones are.
No, so what are you working on now, Gem? You could tell us what you're working on.
I've got quite a nice little slate of shows at the moment. I've got a show called Women on the Force, which actually started half an hour ago on W, which is it's a documentary series about the women behind the uniform on the police force, which is quite cool. And it's quite humbling, because they're not talent, they are real women with really important jobs, and it makes you realize that your bad day is nothing compared to their bad day. And then I work on a comedy called Meet the Richardsons, which is amazing. There's these 2 married comedians called John Richardson and Lucy Beaumont, and they're married in real life, but this is kind of a Curb Your Enthusiasm style sitcom that Lucy's written, and that's really fun. So it's a massive hit here.
I love UK comedies and dramas, and I feel like they're a little sharper, a little wittier.
I do think you're right in the sharpness. Like, there's something, I think it's Succession, isn't it? It's got a British writer, and the sharpness of the dialogue and the wittiness, it does definitely feel quite British.
So I think what it is that a lot of British comedy, not all of it obviously, but I think it comes from an intellectual place, like, John Cleese and all, that kind of thing. and it's based on like academia or literary or history or whatever. And in this country, it's just like the downtrodden trying to make like a joke out of their miserable life in the United States. Like that's the basic difference, I think, between British comedy and American comedy.
Yeah.
I don't know. We
That's a
should
good
get a comedian
observation.
on and yeah.
You should. Your next guest can be a comedian.
Let's be honest, British comedy's better.
I agree with you, Laura.
Well, Gem, I know it's late there, so this has been amazing. It's super, super fun. I don't want to keep you up forever, even though I'd love to keep you on.
You got to
forever.
watch Harry and Meghan too. Yeah.
We've got Harry and Meghan to
I know
watch.
she's got some. Yeah, she's got some work to do still. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thanks
for staying up. Okay, talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Do you want to kick off this segment?
Yeah, go to the news.
News next?
Yeah.
Okay, so the news of the week is about a collaboration between Chipotle and E.L.F. Cosmetics, where they are basically introducing a Chipotle-inspired makeup palette that includes eyeshadow colors in green salsa, pinto beans, fajitas, and black beans, which is definitely among the weirdest collaborations I've ever heard of.
Right, we talked about some weird collaborations, like what were those Slack sneakers or something?
It was there were the Slack
Cole Haan?
sneakers. There was the Ben and Jerry's sneakers. If you remember that, the chunky donkey, I think it was.
So Chipotle Cosmetics, I mean, you could make so many jokes about it. Like, could you imagine like burrito chunks of meat and cheese and beans on your face? Or, you know how they had that issue where their chicken like had salmonella or something, you know, like poison your skin and like you break out. If I was E.L.F., I would never have collaborated with them. I don't mind the color.
No, the color palette is actually pretty cool. When I looked
Green
at it, I thought,
salsa or guac.
no, I would wear the colors. I just wouldn't like the idea that they represent food that I'm putting on my face.
It's like a 3-year-old eating, like putting it all over their face. Like,
And then they also introduced a Make It Hop lip gloss and an extra guac face sponge that comes with an avocado sponge and extra chips face makeup bag.
I just don't think this is a collaboration that had to happen.
So let's read the quote. We're always looking for opportunities to lead culture and make authentic connections. Sorry, the authentic part.
Right.
Make authentic connections with Gen Z alongside brands that share similar values, said the vice president of digital marketing and off-premise for Chipotle. Following our first launch with E.L.F., which sold out in less than 4 minutes last spring. Wait, what? There was a first launch with E.L.F.? They've taken the collaboration to the next level with beauty products, celebrating our real ingredients in totally unexpected ways. Wait. What is the first collaboration? Wait, hold the phone. In addition, Chipotle will offer a beauty-inspired all-vegan entree, eyes, chips, face, and bowl, curated by drag queens Trixie Mattel and Kim Chi to celebrate the dual commitment, E.L.F. and Chipotle, to support plant-based lifestyles and responsibly sourced products. Wait. So now you can go to Chipotle and get eyes, chips, face, bowl as a food dish? That's even weirder. I mean, I think the makeup strikes me as less weird.
Every palette comes with a free chips and guac order from Chipotle.
What?
So, like, are women going to buy this makeup and then running to Chipotle? Okay, so you know what? But as we've talked about, none of this matters. Maybe the fact that, like, it's so ridiculous, they're getting a ton of PR, and that's the goal.
Maybe it's another just stunt, straight up stunt, where they
That's
decided.
what I think it is.
And do you think this came about because the executives are friends or something, and they thought, oh, this will be a ruse?
Yeah, it has to be.
I feel like you wouldn't be able to push this up the ladder if you were just a marketing person. That your executives would just be like, what? Are you
maybe
how
maybe,
high are you?
maybe the head of Chipotle and the head of E.L.F are like having an affair.
Ooh, that's my favorite explanation. That is amazing.
Weird. Okay.
I'm just going to go through the questions quickly that we have as references. Does it make sense strategically? Definitely not. Check. Who do you think is the target audience?
Wait, they say Gen Z.
I would say anybody that they think is going to put this on social media and tweet about it, or like,
that's
right? It's like
right.
all about social buzz, and
Right.
they want us to be doing what we're doing. They want anybody who's going to read it to go like, did you hear about this crazy thing? Blah, blah, blah.
Congratulations.
I think that's what it is. So they won, we lost. So Chipotle, E.L.F. Cosmetics won, and Laura April 0. Have other companies found success or failure with similar initiatives? I mean, I haven't seen any of these wacky partnerships backfire. Have you?
No, but I also don't hear much about them after they
It's
launch.
It's an initial little.
But I have to admit, I am way older than Gen Z, and I'm like Gen Z's grandmother. So I'm not on TikTok. You know what I mean? I don't see how these things, I'm not like in the thick of it, seeing how these things are playing out on social media.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I watch Judge Judy, so like.
Okay, well, I think we covered it.
All righty.
We can move on. So our final segment of the day is the PR horror story. Okay, let me take a drink before I start then.
Scotch?
Yep, you know me. Oh boy. Okay, so do not open until podcast. Dear PR wind down, I need advice, 3 exclamation points. I am working for a mid-sized agency with a lot of clients in Silicon Valley and have been with this team for about a year. The environment is pretty stressful, more so than some other agencies I've worked for, and the management here places a lot of emphasis on agency hierarchy, so I try not to rock the boat. I've seen a few heads roll for going to management with internal conflicts or issues, and I know the firm is targeting some ambitious growth this year. In this case, though, I'm in a bit of a tough spot. I was recently added to a client account for a new client in the consumer health tech space. They've made a pretty good name for themselves in Europe and are now targeting the US aggressively. Things were going well at first, but let's just say the client contact has a bit of an issue with boundaries. I'm getting, quote, emergency calls from the client at all hours of the day, sometimes 5 a.m., sometimes 10 p.m., and even on a Saturday. There's no crisis, but I get a sense that the client contact is under a lot of pressure from his higher-ups. I understand that emergencies do happen, but not everything constitutes a midnight phone call. I recently went to my supervisor about it for advice and was told, quote, what do you expect? We provide high quality work here and it's your job to keep up.
Ugh.
Oh my.
Go on.
I'm all for helping a client through a tough time, but I'm in a weird spot here in terms of boundary setting without much support from my team. Is this a, quote, go to HR situation question?
It's never a go to HR situation.
It's Laura's face. So this is what I think Laura's going to say. Laura's going to say, don't go to HR and keep it moving.
Right. So sometimes I say that just to sort of be funny. So let's really try to figure and help this person out.
Yes, agreed.
The first thing that you have to do is be more courageous and willing to potentially lose your job than you would ever imagine being. And I will tell this person that it's okay to be courageous and risk losing your job. And because I've looked back on decades of my career, because there's a window closes, a door will open somewhere else. And you, like we were talking about last week, you don't want to stay in a situation that isn't really you, because then you will continue going down a path that isn't really you. Mm-hmm. So if this calls at midnight and Saturdays and 5 a.m., the 5 a.m. call would be the worst for me. That would not
Yeah,
happen.
I don't mind a 10 p.m. call, but 5 a.m., forget about it.
Some people might like dig that, like, oh, I'm so needed and I'd love to be, so busy all the time. Most people not, but some people probably do. If you're not digging that, then get courage, figure out who you are, And so I think two things. You can either set your phone so that it goes on and off. I haven't done it because I haven't been in this situation for a long time, but I used to do it on my BlackBerry. That's how long ago. The BlackBerry would go off at, I don't know, 10 or 11 at night, and it wouldn't go back on again until like 7 or 8 in the morning. So if somebody tried to contact me between, 10 or 11 at night or 7, 8 in the morning, if my phone didn't buzz or ring, it was off, but then it automatically went on again.
I agree with that. And I think it does sound to me like this person writing in is not feeling like it's a cultural fit overall. If there's this sort of sense of hierarchy and not a valuing the team members and protecting them and setting good boundaries and things.
Right, a very stressful environment.
I think the other thing you could try, I like your idea of just not being available. I think if you've always the problem when you've let people push your boundaries is that trying to set them retroactively or after you've already let them cross them is
kind of too late.
1,000% harder. You can do it, but it is definitely much easier if you do it up front. I mean, it's possible if this person had something in their personal life they could leverage as a sympathy card, like I have a sick parent, I just got married, hey, there's a baby, or I have a new hobby, or I need to go to the gym, I really need to get my health back, or like,
I get up before work every day and I'm in the gym, so you can't even call me until
just reset expectations, but also not them.
I'm volunteering at the hospital on Saturdays.
I mean, anything, right? I'm not saying make it up, but maybe
I kind of am, because you know what? And again, I'm looking back, I would have never done this when I was younger ever, because I didn't have the courage. And I was like, oh no, I won't make money and I'll die in a box and whatever. That isn't going to happen. If they're going to completely blow through your boundaries, like in crazy ways, calling it 5 a.m., 11 p.m., Saturdays, that's crazy. So if they're going to be crazy, then you know what? You can kind of be crazy back.
So I think you could either embellish the truth of what's happening in your personal life and make it a new boundary. Hey, I'm not going to be available like I have been before and after these hours or on weekends. But the other thing you could do is also just stop being as responsive, sort of slowly. So like when you're genuinely available at 10 o'clock and you want to answer it, fine. But if you're genuinely not available at 5 a.m., don't answer it. You kind of have to retrain your client at this point, I think, to respect you.
But it sounds to me like they're afraid they're going to get in trouble with the hierarchy within their own agency for setting any boundaries themselves with the client.
But do they have to tell the client? Like, maybe the point is that the higher ups are going to notice if they don't respond at 10 at
or
night.
the client's going to complain to the higher up and saying, Susie used to answer the phone at midnight and 5 a.m. and it's an emergency and now she's not. I mean, it sounds to me like that very well could happen, which is probably what Susie or whoever this is afraid of. That's why I'm saying, if people are going to be bullshite to you, then you can fudge it back to them. And again, I never did this. I was always like, whatever, the martyr. But you know what? That's insane. Somebody calling you at midnight because like, oh my God, the press release that's coming out in 3 weeks has a typo in it. Something that's not an emergency. Sorry, I volunteer at the hospital.
I go to church every night, whatever, like something.
I'm in a cult now, and we have midnight mass every night.
Or I meditate for 2 hours a day now, and it happens.
And then I fall asleep, and I don't hear the phone.
Yeah.
Now, I want to say I work late at night, as you know, as we talked about, and but I really don't expect people to answer me at the crazy days and times. And I think people know that because I don't usually get answers. Some people like to answer right away, but other people actually have a life outside of, the four walls of their house and like don't even get it. And that's totally fine. Because then when there is an emergency, then they know it's real and they're not going to try to ignore me.
I mean, it could, I guess the other question would be, so if you have a really good relationship with your client and you guys are tight, could you comfortably say, hey, I just want to check with you. I've been feeling like whenever I hear from you, I need to get back right away. Would it really crimp your style if I didn't respond at 10 at night or 5 in the morning and only between these hours? Is that going to put you in trouble internally? Do you know what I mean?
What if they say, yes, it will, April, you have to answer the phone when I call at 5 a.m. Then you say, okay.
No, then you say, okay, well, so there's an issue. We have an issue because I have a blank, blank, blank thing happening with mom and
Right.
dad or with my kid or
I'm in physical therapy every day at, 5:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. because my knee doesn't work.
I'm a little bit scared at how easily we're coming up.
I know, and I'm telling you, I never did this stuff, but now in retrospect, it's like, whatever. If you're going to be bullshit to me, I'm going to be bullshit to you.
Right. What this person's describing is pretty standard for the industry. So
I
this
know.
is not, I mean, I'd like to say it's an outlier, but I don't think it is. I think this is like pretty much par for the course wherever you go, even though I'm working very, very hard at Trust Relations to not have it be one of the status quo.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know of a lot of places where that's
you get
not
to
going
to say no.
No, it's pretty much like, this is just.
Well, if you get an
the way it
in-house job, it might be less depending on who you work for or how senior you are.
Okay. Well, that's all I have to say about that.
Hey. I have so much to say about everything.
It's impressive. Thank you so much for tuning in for the PR Wind Down podcast.
And thank you to our guest, Gem, who was a gem today. And gave us an excuse to chat about one of our all-time favorite shows.
Yeah, that was awesome. Hey, remember you could submit your own agency stories and questions or calls for advice. And remember to share our show with your friends and colleagues. If you subscribe and leave us a rating, it also helps us to reach new listeners like you.
And if you have an anonymous PR horror story of your own, send it our way at the contact email below the episode notes.
We can't wait to wind down with you again next week. No closing music from Laura.
Oh, the Cabbage Patch. Wait, I think we already did that one, though.
What other dance moves do you have, Laura?
I don't really.
What about the Running Man?
That's how I'm going to end this.
What about